As we're coming really close to the end of construction here at one of our clients' granny flats, thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to kind of break down the process and timeframes for actually constructing one of these tiny homes in your backyard. So right here, we're only a few weeks away from handover. Obviously got to do some landscaping on the property to get it ready to rent. But other than that, most of the work is done inside, just waiting for that final clean and the landscaping, which is always the last thing to be done. Most of the granny flats that we've been building only really take somewhere between about 10 to 14 weeks to construct. Now, obviously, if there's no weather issues or there's no timber shortage like a lot of people are experiencing in Australia at the moment, normally you're closer to that 10 to 11 week time frame. But then if you get some inclement weather or, there's some sort of issues that come up throughout construction, like what's happening at the moment with there being a bit of a timber shortage around Australia, then it can blow out to that maybe 14-week period. Now, obviously the first thing to happen when building a granny flat is the site preparation, because not all blocks are ready to have a granny flat built in the backyard. We need to remove trees, we need to put up some fencing, we might need to take down a shed or some garden beds. More often than not, there's plenty of stuff in the backyard. So, we call the first stage site preparation, where you're getting rid of all of those things so you've got a clear, easy path for the tradies to work with and a nice, easy place for the granny flat to be situated. From there, obviously, first thing to happen is your foundations need to go in. So what the builders will be building on. Now, we like to build on piers because it makes it a little bit easier if there's a bit of a slope on the block, or, if it's not a perfect spot to put down a slab, and generally ends up being that slightly a little bit more affordable as well. Then when you build on piers, you're obviously slightly elevated as well, which we know up here in Queensland is really, really popular. From there, obviously, what we're going to be doing is getting the frame up. So getting the flooring in, getting the frame up. So we've got everything that we need to build on. From there, what the guys will be working on is enclosing the granny flat. So at that point in time, they're getting the roof finished and finalized. They're getting the walls on the property as well, getting it essentially watertight. So then whenever any weather comes, it should be okay from then on in. And once we're enclosed, they're obviously going to get into the nitty gritty inside of the property. So that's where they're obviously, working on getting the bathroom in, getting the kitchen in, getting all the cabinetry, the sliding doors, all of the electrical work as well. So it takes time to get all of those things. What we mostly find is that from site preparation to enclose happens relatively quickly, but then from there, once you're getting your fixtures and your fittings put in, it tends to slow down a little bit, because this is where all the detail comes into play. From there, once we've essentially got all of those things in, then they can obviously put down the flooring, put down the carpets, and paint the interior so it gets ready to rock and roll. And that's kind of where we're at right here. They're ready to start making the property look a little bit better. And then obviously the last thing to occur is when we do the landscaping, get the outside of the property spick and span. You obviously have your final clean of the property as well. So it's basically ready for handover. And what we do at the very end is always recommend our clients to reach out to an independent handovers company. We actually use handovers.com. They've been awesome, which what they'll do is actually go out to the property, go out to the granny flat, have a bit of a look through, make sure that everything has been done to the contract. So if there is any discrepancies, they will actually file a report, hand it over to the builders, and the builders have to go out there and rectify every single one of those issues before handover. Then obviously you get that property handed over, we're ready to rock and roll. You get your property manager out there, get some beautiful photos of the finished product, and start advertising for some rent. So the construction process being somewhere between 10 and 14 weeks, 10 being your best case scenario, 14 weeks being, a little bit longer, 12 probably being the average if you're trying to set expectations, if you're looking at doing something like this as well. And if you are buying and building these granny flats in the right locations, Like for us, we only like to do them in areas that have got vacancy rates of less than 2%, which means it should be easier to find some tenants, and you shouldn't have to wait too long to rent out the granny flat as well. So, you know, there you have it. That's a little bit of a process as to how these granny flats come together. Obviously very high level, but it's really nice to know, especially for any of you who are thinking of maybe getting one started out there soon enough. So if you could please, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting that big red button below, and continue following our YouTube videos. We talk a lot about all things property investing around Australia, case studies, strategies, market updates, granny flat projects, new build projects, everything that we like to focus on as buyers agents up here in Queensland. So if you want to reach out and see some more information about who we are, then jump over to our Facebook or our YouTube page as well and check us out there. We've also got our website, www.pumpedonproperty.com, if you'd like to check it out. So thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. Have a great one. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty.